My name is Michael Lerner. I'm the co-founder of Commonweal. I'm here with my longtime friend and colleague, Toby Symington, to welcome you to the Symington Foundation Public Forum on Integrative Cancer Care. I'm going to be very brief. If you want to know more about Commonweal, it's up on the wall there, and you can go to our website. We're about healing ourselves and healing the earth, and being an oasis of peace in troubled times. So welcome to that peace. Let's focus on that peace today. I'm going to actually stop right there and turn this over to Toby for his introductory remarks, and then I'll come back to introduce Dean Ornish. Toby?
So I'd like to echo Michael's welcome to all of you and thank Michael and Commonweal, the whole Commonweal staff, for hosting this public forum. This is our second annual public forum on integrative cancer care. We had one last year. Some of you might have been here. And I want to thank especially Sheila Opperman, without whose help we wouldn't be meeting here at all. So there are a couple of things. Yes. Thank you, Sheila. There are a couple of changes that we've made since last year. One is we're going to be giving presenters more time in their presentations. And a second is that we have two very gifted artists, who will be performing. One, Mary Liz Smith, whom you just heard on the piano, and Nina Wise will be doing a performance piece later on. So I want to just run down a little bit our lineup of presenters. First of all, and leading off, we're very fortunate to have Dean Ornish, one of the leading cardiologists in the country, creator of the highly influential Ornish diet, who's done really groundbreaking and high impact research, and who has, pioneered a whole new field of medicine, lifestyle medicine, which he'll be talking about very shortly. Then we're also very fortunate to have Francis Weller, whom I met just for the first time. He's the author of the book, The Wild Edge of Sorrow, which is an in-depth exploration of grief and the 5 levels of grief. It's a book that, for me, is one of the finest books on any subject that I've read over the last year, and it's one that I routinely recommend to friends of mine. Then I want to say to Janie Brown, I'm particularly grateful that Janie was able to step in on very short notice after we learned that Rachel Remen was not going to be able to join us. And Janie is the co-founder and executive director of a really amazing healing community called Ornish, based in Vancouver. In my opinion, Ornish sets the gold standard for community-based transformative cancer care. And Janie herself has a number of skills. I mean, she's a therapist, a healer, storyteller, writer, a warrior for the common good. And in addition to those skills, she brings her own lovely presence to our gathering and a deep wisdom of the heart. So we're very fortunate to have Janie as one of our presenters. And then we have a number of friends of the foundation. We have a special category at the Lloyd Symington Foundation, friends. These are people who are partners in our philanthropic work. And they run or have run terrific programs, grassroots programs, visionary programs which offer healing at multiple levels. And I'm not going to say, I'll just mention them by name right now. I'm going to be introducing them later, but Suzanne West, Dale Borglum, Nina Wise, I'll have more to say when I caliber of people that we have collaborated with over the years. And I just want to say that people serving the cancer community outside the medical profession have made a very significant and substantive contribution over the years. Not always recognized, I should add, by the scientific and medical establishments. But these are people who may not be physicians with formal medical training, but they are emphatically physicians of the soul. And they bring their healing gifts to the deepest level of the human being, and often with consequences that are profound and life-changing. So I think we have a lineup today which is versatile, broad gauge, and people who have contributed in so many ways, not just to the cancer community, but beyond. So I'm going to switch gears for a moment because we are 7 days into a new administration in Washington. We are seeing a sea change in American politics, and we're entering a dark, uncertain, and perilous time because we have somebody in the White House. So this is what's one of the many things that's disturbing. We have somebody in the White House who has legitimized bigotry and intolerance, who routinely traffics in lies that are brazen and calculated, and who has made a habit of trashing long-established norms of democratic governance. And it's a time when a lot of us have a great deal of anxiety over the future, especially after some of these executive orders which have been issued, quite disturbing and ominous. So I just want to say a few words that maybe offer a couple of suggestions on how we might respond, suggestions which I hope are nonpartisan. They're quite general in nature, and they involve, I think, positive and soul-sustaining action. So first of all, I think we can say yes, an emphatic yes, to a politics of inclusion and civility. And then we can say yes to a political culture of reason, moral intelligence, and common decency. And finally, and there are many ways to do this, and finally we can say yes to an ethos of respect, respect for the dignity of every human being, no exceptions, no exclusions. And then on a more personal level, I think in our work, in our relationship, in our everyday lives, we can embody and exemplify our highest values. Just to take one instance, simple actions like kindness and courtesy can have, repeated many times over, can have quite large political consequences. And these small actions, which actually are not so small, they may not make headlines, but they can have tremendous power. Whether we go back to into the public square, re-engage civically, these are things that all of us, I think, can do and have quite an influence. So that brings me to Commonweal and my and you know, I could say a lot of things about Commonweal, but I just first of all want to say I can't imagine a more appropriate venue for this gathering and this theme at this time than Commonweal. And, you know, Commonweal is, and I've said this maybe last year, I've said this before, Commonweal has done such amazing work on many fronts, from the local to the global over the years, and promoting the welfare of both human and non-human communities. And it's now 40 years. They celebrated their 40th anniversary last year. Some of you might have been here for the celebration. But what I really want to emphasize today is those small actions, you know, because on the one hand, Commonweal provides very effective service in the public arena. On the other hand, they also embody these qualities of kindness, courtesy, consideration, warmth, and friendliness. And those of you who've been here for cancer help retreats or New School conversations, or like myself, just showing up unannounced at times, you can count on a warm and friendly reception. I mean, this is the Commonweal MO in my experience. It begins with Michael, it runs through the entire staff. So it's always such a pleasure, not just to be here at Commonweal, but to be in this particular room, the gallery. But I like to call it the upper room. And because the spirit is very much alive here. And this is a place where magical things can happen, and I would say almost certainly will happen in the course of today. So, on behalf of the Lloyd Symington Foundation and my beloved sister Marion Lerner, who I might add is a longtime Reiki master, one of the most distinguished Reiki practitioners in the country, and in collaboration with Commonweal, its president, my dear friend Michael Lerner, who, among many other things I could mention, is a true benefactor of planet Earth and has been for many years. It's my great pleasure and privilege to welcome all of you to this year's public forum on integrative cancer care. Thank you.
Wow. That was beautiful, Toby. Thank you very, very much. So I have a few minutes before I introduce Dean, and so I will say a few words. I want to start having begun by saying Commonweal is a sanctuary. And Toby beautifully and kindly brought us into the present moment. And so I will speak for myself, but also speak for Commonweal. What are the qualities of an oasis of healing in a time like this? And I think one of the specific qualities in the Cancer Help Program, but also in the New School at Commonweal, in our Healing Circles work, is that we welcome people from every perspective, whether we agree with them politically or not. When people come on the Cancer Help Program, we leave politics at the door. And I think that's important to say because with all the depth with which I and many others at Commonweal share Toby's deep concerns, and I share them as passionately as anyone, there is an obligation, if you are a physician, to treat anyone who comes to you who is needing medical assistance. And I think that's also true for physicians of the soul, that we should be open to anyone, regardless of their political views. And I think that is actually cause for deep reflection, because when I think of healing work, there is an eternal vertical dimension of it that goes back to the shamanic origins of healing, that really goes beyond our political views, which come from the ego identity. The soul, many of our speakers will speak to this today, but my friend and colleague Francis Weller is a beautiful example of this. The soul really operates from a different dimension. And so when we're working with soul healing, it isn't that we give up our deep commitments to democracy, to health, environment, and justice, which Commonweal has been committed to for 40 years. But when we're working at the soul level, we really welcome all. And this is a time of discernment for Commonweal about this because, as Toby said, we've never, in my lifetime, been in a situation like this. A second and related point is that for those of us who share Commonweal's commitments to health, environment, and justice, that this is a time of deep agony for many of us. And so the question of, and we acknowledge that it's a time of joy for others. It's a time of joy in Russia. It's a time of joy for 45% of the American population. And whatever their politics, I welcome their joy. I welcome their joy. I am glad that after their experience of feeling oppressed and excluded, they are feeling some sense of inclusion. No matter how terrible that agenda is to me, I am grateful that they are feeling joy. And so, so there is this discernment that takes place about whether we turn the other into an enemy or whether we turn the other. There's a beautiful poem by Thich Nhat Hanh about pirates. Francis probably knows it, but the point is, Thich Nhat Hanh in this poem tries to imagine himself into being one of the pirates off the coast of Vietnam who kills everybody and throws children into the ocean. He tries to imagine that. Well, we have a pirate in the White House, and we have pirates surrounding him. And so the question is, do we have the capacity to imagine ourselves into the circumstances where people make choices like this, much less the millions of Americans who are decent people who out of their life experience chose to vote for this man. So I just welcome you into the complexity of deep reflection in this time. Not that you will share mine, but that for yourself you are reflecting on how you are holding this time. I am in struggle about how to live in this period of time with peace in my heart and not allow this insanity to fill me between the age of 73 and 77 with an energy I don't want to carry. And so how can I personally be of the greatest service to the work of healing ourselves and healing the earth and not carry a negativity that is not good for my health, that is not good for your health, that is not good for the health of some significant part of the people of the United States and the world, at the same time recognizing the other views. So I just wanted to take the time to say to you that this is a time you don't have to agree with me at all, but that this is a time for discernment for each of us about how to live in this period of time. How do each of us live in this period of time? It is a source of deep, deep reflection. And it is precisely why Commonweal is here, because we are dedicated to healing ourselves and healing the earth. So, let us all enter that reflection. And in this day, let us move away from the political dimension to the soul dimension. And let us focus on the soul work, because the politics will be waiting for us at the end of the day. So, I want to just say a word about Toby Symington. Toby has been a friend and colleague of Commonweal and the Cancer Help Program for over 30 years. We've held a whole set of Lloyd Symington Foundation conferences on new directions in cancer care that really pioneered integrative cancer medicine and brought it into the mainstream. And Toby is, in addition to his work with the Lloyd Symington Foundation, which has been superb, he is a gifted astrologer, deeply gifted astrologer. He is a consummate Neoplatonic philosopher, and he is a beautiful soul and friend. So Toby, thank you for your friendship and for all of the work.